previously in the anime, we saw the delegation from the Dragonton town came to visit mynoghra. But she was left speechless when she saw the embodiment of evil itself. But unlike Tankopoli, her companion Pepe was a free-minded and carefree social kid. But because he was a kid, he spilled the beans that their town is on the verge of falling due to invasion from barbarians. Well, Takuto knew all of this beforehand, but he assured Tankopoli that he has no intention of taking advantage of their situation. Instead, he struck a fair deal in return for the help. It also established the trade between two kingdoms, but to know their partners better, Takuto decided to send the twins to Dragonton town for a courtesy visit. But they're still kids, so Takuto also arranged guards to accompany them. They were in the newly created medic center and they sure were looking dangerous. Yet their behavior was nothing like their appearance though. Takuto had summoned them on a hunch and now they will be useful for the job. They are medics and yet they are combat experienced, so they can also serve as bodyguards. Then Atu gave them orders to accompany the two ladies to Dragonton City and learn their cultural values with them. These medics were nuts to say the least, because in everything they do they think they're doing it like humans. So Takuto thought of motivating them a bit. In-game these three were obsessed with being humans, which is why Takuto gave them names. But maybe they got a little too motivated, so Takuto and Atu felt bad for Karia because she'll have to handle 4 kids on the job. Yet she was trying to stay positive and arrived in Dragonton town. There the mayor was an elf and she was frustrated from doing non-stop work. She came to this secluded town in hopes of finding a good man and living out her life in peace. But what did she got? An office with overwork, and now work with evil forces at that. There her assistant came and she tried to maintain her composure. Turns out someone was requesting an audience but didn't have an appointment, so the mayor told her to send them away. But they were people from mynoghra, so she quickly got ready to meet them. Who can say that a moment ago this she-devil was throwing tantrums? But anyways, Antilise couldn't understand why staff bearers were joining hands with such evil people. But whatever their reason were, for now she knew showing proper hospitality is a must. So she started with greeting and a little bit of talk to break the ice. It was hard for her to think that such little kids are envoys of a kingdom. She would have never believed it if Tankopoli hadn't told her in advance about Karia and Maria. They were under direct command of the king of mynoghra, so Antilise tried to be courteous and polite to ask their reason for visit. The two struggled to answer the question, so Jiro came forward and told her that one of the staff holders named Pepe had invited them for a visit to enjoy their city's culture. More so, these two are still in training, so they're sort of like students who came to learn diplomacy here and ensure the preliminary steps for their good relationship in the future. So raising complicated matters won't be useful if she raises them right now. Antilise saw that there's nothing to worry about as they are only tourists. So she decided to give them the tour of their city herself. But it was only an excuse to ditch the work and go out to enjoy. Then for the time being she showed the town around and Takuto was keeping an eye on them from afar. But Atu asked him to get back to work again. With that time passed by and at nightfall Karia asked Maria about the first impression of the town, and Maria saw only pain, hunger and suffering on the street. Maria is sensitive to emotions and could feel what others feel. Then Jiro gave a popple grass he happened to buy from the market. But it's a plant that has strong euphoric and hallucination effects for which many kingdoms have banned its sale. That shows trouble is already rooted in this town, but they can't just interfere in the town's business, so Subaru and others wanted to avoid conflict as much as possible. Then the next day they went to see the dragon vein mine that's been on the deal between the two kingdoms. They have tried to hide its existence, but it's simply not that easy to cover its tracks. The mana crystals were pretty, which reminded both sisters about their mother. So the sisters were trying to move forward with her memories, but then a man approached them for business. His name was Vesta, a merchant from this town, and he was the one who cultivated the popple grass they saw yesterday. He also heard about the new diplomatic relations their country had gotten into with mynoghra, so he was hoping to expand his business with them. Naturally, he offered a part of profit to them since popple grass is sold for a very high price. And if they agreed to start the business, he asked them to meet him at the location written on that paper. Karia didn't cause a scene and took the paper for now. But she didn't visit that place at all. The next day she met with Antilise before returning back home. But there Vesta and his men barged in forcefully since Karia and Maria didn't give him an answer. So he came here himself to know if they would strike a deal with him. Antelize got worried that the kids had made some illegal deals under her nose. And worst case scenario, she'll be doomed. But Carria told her that they have never even thought of making a deal with these scums. On the contrary, they want to throw this trash out as soon as possible. Antelize got happy and asked the three to deal with them. But Vesta had a concentrated liquid extracted from popple grass. One dose of it could make anyone crazy addicted to this drug. And Carria tried to warn him about the consequences for touching them. But like Vesta would take them seriously since they're just kids. And also mynoghra is a newfound kingdom that none has heard of, so he made fun of their king and ordered his men to get them. But that's the last thing he should have done. The three medics are nuts because they are overly obsessed with being humans. They imitate him like every type of human species to such crazy lengths. They are both good in healing them and also in killing them. That's why they were named Brain Eater, and I understand why. They peeled off the skin from Vesta's goons to wear them and look like humans. The very scene of it happening traumatized Antelize to the core. And their Carria was pissed that Vesta insulted King Takuto. It's a sin in her eyes that can never be redeemed no matter how much one tries for their life. So as a true evil being, Carria ordered their death and the three butchered him up into pieces, but before that they took his skin to wear it. Antelize was so deep in shock that the poor girl pissed herself watching this, and those three couldn't understand why, but they wanted to be humans and thought of doing the same. But Carria stopped them before they do this nonsense. And right there, episode of the anime end, but don't worry, next episode is on the way. But to watch that you have to subscribe and hit the bell icon, or you might miss the updates. So till next time guys, take care.